Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP. We got Nick in attendance here. We're going to be going through our Money in the Bank predictions for this coming weekend's WWE Premium Live event, taking place from Toronto, Canada. Should be an interesting event. Looking forward to it. Hey, how about we delve into the match card? We're going to go through all of our predictions, all of our theories, have a little bit of a discussion about the matches, to see what we think is going to happen out of everything that's going to take place. So, how about we get started with the big one, the money match, right? Money in the Bank, the men's ladder match. This features 6 superstars, all looking to climb that ladder to grab the briefcase and cash in for a title opportunity at some point going forward in the future. The six people that we have in this contest are LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, Jey Uso, and Andrade. So all having various situations going on here. Well, most of these guys anyway. It's a lot of outside involvement regarding all of these chaps here. So you got LA Knight. He's currently got this thing with Logan Paul at the moment. He really wants that US championship. Could this really lead to him winning the Money in the Bank ladder match and going for that one? That's something you could consider. Drew McIntyre, we all know what he's been through. CM Punk, right? I mean, that business has been crazy. He got cost the world title at Clash of the Castle very recently by CM Punk. And, he's had his history with him. He's taking him out. He's had a window of opportunity to qualify for this. Can he take it in that sweet, short period of time? Who knows? Maybe. Chad Gable, he's got a lot of stuff going on at the moment, hasn't he? With the Wyatt family, with the Uncle Howdy business going on each and every Monday night. So, yeah, I mean, that could offer a very big distraction. He's not been 100% mentally since that beatdown on him during that Monday Night Massacre. And Jey Uso, I feel like he could potentially also be caught up in that as well. So, it's a lot of outside factors here. I mean, Nick, what are your thoughts on regarding like all of these guys and the chances of winning? Could we really just eliminate all 4 of these guys from winning the Money in the Bank ladder match straight away? Or is somebody going to weasel their way through that potential outside interference? Maybe maybe we're looking too far into things here. Is it really as simple as just Carmelo or Andrade here?
I think that certainly is almost a guarantee that we will see outside interference. I think the fact that there are 6 men in this match certainly help. Maybe, it's possible that some interference could, be brought on the wrong person or something of that sort. But to count out the 4 individuals, especially being who they are, just because of outside interference, I think would be a bad call on our part as well. But yeah, I think this is going to be a bit of chaos. I I haven't got a clue, honestly, who's going to win, and I don't think there is a bad pick here either, though. I will say that. I think Drew probably seems like would probably be the favorite just because of, he's the veteran of the group, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like Jay and LA Knight would probably make the most sense. Who do you have coming out of here, and who do you want to, and who do you think will? I guess those are the 2 different questions. Because I honestly wouldn't be surprised or upset with any 6 of these guys winning.
Yeah, just for the record, I think, because obviously passed that question over to you a moment ago, don't want people to think that, KP thinks that, 4 of these men have no chance of winning. I just want to see, if that was a possibility, just, straight from the off there. But, yeah, I genuinely think that, some of these guys, the interference won't be as strong. I think maybe Drew McIntyre is probably the one who is most susceptible to outside interference, and then I also think LA Knight is also fitting into that category as well. But I think with Chad and Jay, based on the guys who they're involved with at the moment, I think they're so unpredictable. You don't really know when they're going to show up. You don't know where things are going to happen. So it's a little bit difficult there. But yeah, regarding what you asked a moment ago, my head's all over the place with this one. I sort of go back and forth between options here. I think that's quite unpredictable in terms of a Money in the Bank ladder match. But I think who I would like to win would probably be Drew McIntyre, purely because of his story recently with the World Championship. But then I think when you open that up and you look inside and you think, well, if he wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, Punk's probably going to cost him the cash in, and depending on when that would take place, that could even be on the night. And I wouldn't really want the contract just to go to waste like that. So I think maybe Drew isn't really the person to win this one. I'm going to go on a out on a whim with this, and I'm going to say that the winner of the Money in the Bank ladder match this year is going to be Chad Gable. I don't know why, but every single time I look at Chad, I think that this is a match where he could really do with something like this. Who do I not want it to be? Jey Uso. I don't mind any of the other guys winning this one, but Jey, I just really, really am not a fan of him in the ring at the moment. I'm not enjoying what he's putting out there. Sure, he's charismatic, he's fun, he's energetic, sure. But I don't know. I don't really rate him as sort of like an in-ring talent type thing. Not on his own anyway, but yeah, I'm going to go with Chad Gable. And yeah, I guess that's my logic with it as well.
This is the first I'm hearing of the dislike of Jey Uso. Not a fan of Yeet in the Bank, huh? Yeah, I've been impressed personally. At first, I wasn't a fan, and I didn't think he had what it took to be a main event. But at this point, I feel like he kind of does. Yeah, if Chad Gable makes sense, and you certainly could help elevate him and the Wyatt Six story. That would kind of write itself, and or have unlimited possibilities of where you could take that. If I had to pick though, I'd probably go with LA Knight, just so it feels like we're capturing his. I still say he's over, but not as over as he once was. I would say maybe maybe not quite as much. But I feel like this is an opportunity to finally cash in, pun intended, on that success. So that's who I think I would want to win more than anyone.
I'd be over the moon with an LA Knight win. I think last year was like there was a real charge for him to win that match, including myself. I was really keen for it, but yeah, it just came out short in the end to Damian Priest. But I don't know. Regarding Jey Uso, it's like one of those things. Like I just don't see him as like a really like his in-ring talent. I don't think it's like really sort of like varied. I think he's got like a super kick, he's got a splash, he's got like a few sort of like strike maneuvers as well. I don't really see him as sort of like a technician type thing, and that's like the kind of guy that I like. I like an all-rounder, someone who can sort of like keep me entertained for the majority rather than doing move after move after move. Yeah, I don't know. I really do rate him as like a entertainer though. I think he's wonderful in that aspect. But yeah, this is an interesting match. It's very it's very unpredictable. I don't know. Maybe we're missing something, perhaps. But I mean, hey, I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that I don't actually genuinely know or have like a clear idea in my mind who I think is going to win. So this could be a surprise in a multitude of ways here. So after having spoken about this first matchup, let's go on to something else a little bit different here. We've got the Intercontinental Championship on the line, and it's Sami Zayn putting that gold up against Bron Breakker. Bron has been on a wrecking spree since joining the main roster. He has had his fair share of things to say to Adam Pearce and to anybody else who gets in his way, right? Recently, Sami Zayn being one of those men. Bron's been targeting the Intercontinental Championship. Now that Sami's finished his whole stuff with Chad Gable, that's been put in the past, put behind him. Sami has an opportunity now to focus on other people. And Bron Breakker is the kind of guy that doesn't really care what you think, doesn't really care what you do. He's just going to get up in your face. He's going to deliver a massive spear, and he's going to try and, beat you as quickly as he can. This guy don't get paid by the hour, apparently. He just wants to take your name and be successful. But regarding this matchup, a lot of people have asked me. I'm a big Sami Zayn fan. A lot of people have been asking me if I think Sami's genuinely got a chance of winning here, or if my bias is going to come into it. I would love to say that it's just purely thinking logically here, but I think there probably is a little bit of bias. I personally think that Sami Zayn's going to retain here. I don't think that Bron Breakker picking up the Intercontinental Championship this early is something that is going to happen. I really do not think that. I think that maybe these guys could have another match at some point later on. And I think maybe then Bron could take the title off Sami. But right now, I don't know. I think Sami's killing it with the IC Championship. I think that Bron's obviously doing very well for himself as well. But I don't know. I just don't think it's quite the right time just yet. Maybe it's optimism on my part. Perhaps. Who knows? But yeah, what are you thinking about this one? Do you think Sami has a chance at retaining? I know a lot of people who I've spoken to have said the exact opposite. So what are your thoughts?
While I do agree with you that I think Sami is going to retain here, the reasons are perhaps a bit different. I believe that the elephant in the room with Braun Breaker is this kind of rivalry that's been going on with Sheamus and Ludwig. Um, I think it's inevitable that they're going to cost him here. And otherwise, what what was the point of the last few weeks? There was a certain, there's a point in time where we kind of thought this would probably end up being a fatal four-way, but it didn't. It just ended up being Braun just because he went up and asked for it himself, or Sami came to find him, I guess, and said, we want this title. You want this title shot. Here you go. You can have it. So I think that's the reason for him not getting it. One kind of point that I felt like maybe could have been done had Gunther retained his Intercontinental title and this being Braun and Gunther, I felt like would have been a better opportunity to create another star in Braun. Him beating Sami, I don't think would shock the world by any means. But him beating Gunther after that reign he had, imagine the star power after how heavily Braun's already been booked, or favorably he's already been booked. Imagine the star status that he could have obtained after that. But this isn't a fantasy booking show. I think Sami's going to win now, but I don't think it's because he's going to outright win it. I think it's because interference is going to cost Braun. But I do see a title in his future, Braun's future, very soon.
Yeah, I do personally think it's just a matter of time for Bron Breakker. I don't think that time is now, but I think that the time is going to be very, very soon after this. Maybe like a second attempt, maybe like in a triple threat, fatal four-way, whatever, with Sheamus or with Kaiser. I know Ludwig picks up an injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. They mentioned it on Monday Night Raw this past week. But I think Sheamus definitely, that elephant in the room, could be a deciding factor in this one for sure. But yeah, Sami retaining, we're both agreeing on that one. Alrighty, nice. Good to see that I'm not just completely going off of pure bias here. So, hey, we've discussed one Money in the Bank ladder match. We've got another one taking place as well, the men's division earlier on. How about the women's one? So we have got Io Sky looking to become a back-to-back for only the second time ever in Money in the Bank history, ladder match winner. We've got Lara Valkyria, we've got Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, Zoe Stark, and Chelsea Green. So 6 women who have obviously earned their place to be here, winning matches, winning a triple threat contest, respectively, over the last few weeks. And there are only 2 women here who have won a world title, and that's Io Sky and Naomi. I feel like with the rest of the talents, if we talk about those for the time being, Lyra, Tiff, Zoe, and Chelsea, I think there are some really good opportunities here. I mean, Tiffany Stratton, she's very highly rated by the WWE Universe. A lot of traction online. People really seem to be giving her a lot of noise when she's coming out into the arenas for her matches and whatever. She's getting a lot of attention, and fair play to her. She's a wonderful athlete. She's brilliant, and I do enjoy what she's doing on a week-to-week basis. To be fair to her, you've got Lyra Valkyria, who obviously has been so great recently since coming out to the main roster. I feel like she's got every chance here of picking up a big victory. Zoe Stark, I feel like, is maybe the anomaly here. I think maybe a lot of people maybe do sleep on her as sort of like an in-ring talent. Doesn't really get sort of like a lot of hype, generally speaking. And then like Chelsea Green, I feel, who is really coming into her own as of recently, putting on some really great work. We just saw that Clash at the Castle when she came out, with Piper, got ejected from ringside, and then came back in a Rey Mysterio mask. And I think it might have been Corey or Wade Barrett, I can't remember which one. They were trying to sell, like, oh, no idea who this person is. Who is it? It was quite a funny moment. But I feel like if anybody's going to win the Money Back contract here, I don't think Io will win for a second time. I think Naomi could definitely benefit from this, but I feel like the most beneficial from this matchup is Chelsea Green. I don't see Chelsea ever getting into a position where she's going to pin a champion 1, 2, 3 when the bell rings and they both have an even sort of playing field. I feel like with a Money in the Bank contract cash in, that gives Chelsea her best opportunity ever to win a world title. I feel like she's going to really benefit from that. And even if she does get the contract and fail the cash in, just to have her being so I don't know, like on edge with the champions, whatever, causing distractions, whatnot, like playing mental games. I feel like she would really capitalize on all of that jazz, really, to be fair to her. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go Chelsea Green here. But regarding what I've spoken about with the rest of them, I mean, anything that you disagree with, perhaps on there, in regards to like their chances, maybe whatnot, and just a general assessment of them. But yeah, Chelsea Green for me.
Yeah, I too don't really have a clear favorite here. The only thing, and I know we've discussed this off stream here, but is the Michael Cole continually bringing up the fact that no woman has ever failed to cash in. So just on that logic alone, I feel like the two favorites here are probably Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton. Chelsea Green, obviously, being a comedic character, I think plays very easy into the role that she could mess something up. And as you mentioned, she steals the show everywhere she's at. So I think she's the one person here that could go through, win, and then fail a cash in and still be just absolutely over, because she just takes advantage of every time she's on the screen. That being said, Tiffany Stratton's dynamic with Nia is an interesting one, because obviously if she wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Nia potentially wins a title down the line, that could create some controversy and maybe a story, and maybe that's where they're going. While I like Tiffany Stratton's in-ring work, I think her character development still has some developing to do. So I don't think she's going to win quite yet. I agree with you on Zoe Stark. I think she's very underrated and just is lacking some character work as well. At first, I thought it was going to be Io. Yeah, I thought Io was going to just win the second one and kind of further did the damage control storyline. She's talking about stepping up their group and controlling the roster again. But I just can't get rid of that Michael Cole bringing up the fact that no one's cashed in. It's multiple times weekly, I feel like. And so I think that's where they're going. And for that same reason, I don't think Lyra will win, simply because if they're going that route, everything she's touched has turned to gold. So I don't think that a failed briefcase would really make sense with her dynamic so far. And I think I've expressed on this channel already that I didn't think Naomi really needed to be here. But that being said, I think Chelsea is going to win, and I think even if she doesn't fail, which I think most people would be ecstatic to see, I think she's better than what she gets credit for as a character. But that being said, I would love to see her with the briefcase. Hopefully it's a long-term thing, because I feel like she deserves that extra screen time.
Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. You made a great point about Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax as well, something that I forgot to mention a few moments earlier. But yeah, Chelsea is just one of those women who she's never really been like a favorite of mine, but every time she pops on the screen, I can't help but like smile and just think like, what's she gonna do now? It's gonna be something funny, isn't it? Something hilarious, something stupid. But yeah, something along those lines. I think she'd have a great moment if she were to win it. And I think the crowd would really relish in it as well. So how about we move along now? We have got a WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, and that features Damian Priest, El Campeon, versus Seth freaking Rollins. Seth made his shock return to Monday Night Raw a few weeks ago, and yeah, it sort of defied the odds of his injuries. We thought he'd be out for a long time, for a number of months, but in actual fact, it was just a couple of months. So it's quite impressive from Seth, really. Him and Damian build up to this matchup would basically be that Seth wanted to prove himself and actually earn an opportunity at the world title. He was going to go through the Money in the Bank route and qualify for that. But Damian Priest will come out and say, you know what? Nope, you don't need to do that. I want to face you one-on-one. I want to prove that I can beat you because you have the title at WrestleMania. I ended up with it at WrestleMania. I want to prove that I can get the job done against you. So a bit of respect there from the champion, which is, quite admirable. But Seth Rollins and Damian, they sort of like build this match up in the following weeks. It would eventually lead to stipulations such as the following, which is if Seth freaking Rollins defeats Damian Priest, then Damian will leave the Judgment Day. He'll lose his title as well, but he will leave the Judgment Day in the process. Also, on top of that, if Damian Priest defeats Seth Rollins, then Seth cannot challenge for the world championship so long as Damian Priest still has it. So a couple of little stipulations there on the line for each individual. With those implications being said, does that really change the dynamic here? Do you think it really makes a big difference? Like if they weren't part of it, do you think this would be any different, Nick?
For me, I think it does. Simply because before the implications, I kind of just figured Damian would win. He has the entirety of the Judgment Day. Why wouldn't he? Just like, everything else they do, everyone's always involved. But because of the implications, I feel like maybe Damian won't get any assistance from the Judgment Day because he flat out said, they need me, I don't need him. So you feel like that may come into play here. He doesn't need them. So why would they go out and help him? So maybe, I feel like that kind of writes itself in that if he loses the title here and he's no longer a part of the Judgment Day, well, he didn't need him anyway. So it's very poetic in that sense, I feel like. But yeah, without the stipulations, I feel like Damian would just win and easy does it. But with the stipulations and Seth not being able to challenge again, at first I kind of thought, well, they're not going to keep Seth away from the title picture that long, right? And then I realized, well, the next challenger for whoever wins this match is Gunther. So does that stipulation really hold any weight? I guess not. But potentially, if Damian somehow comes out on top, it could long term be a roadblock for Seth. So maybe I'm making it more complicated than I need to, but I feel like it did add a little bit. With all that being said, I'm not confident in this answer at all, but I feel like they've been teasing Damian leaving the Judgment Day for quite some time, and so I actually do think Seth is going to win back his title here. Granted, it's going to be a short-term thing because I do think Gunther's going to take it away from him immediately. So an interim champion, so to speak. I think that's the only way you kind of further the Judgment Day story without it becoming stale again. So yeah, maybe I'm in the minority, but I think Seth is going to win here based on what happened in the stipulation.
Yeah, you do make a lot of good points there. I think it's one of those situations where, like, Damian has a hell of a lot going on. The Judgment Day business runs Monday Night Raw, as we're all aware of, right? There's a lot of layers to it. You got Liv Morgan, you got Finn Balor, you got Carlito, you got Jay McDonough, you got Dominic Mysterio, and then of course you got himself. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of business that runs through it. Damian could be distracted and whatnot, and have like a lot of things on his mind. On the other hand, I think that the stipulation regarding Seth, I don't really think it holds any weight at all. I think Gunther being on the horizon, I think beats either of these men at SummerSlam. So for me, it's quite an easy one, really. I'm going to go with Damian Priest here to retain. They've been setting up Damian against Gunther for a little while now. I think the stipulations are purely to be a red herring, so that we think that Seth actually will beat Damian here, because I think on paper I think Seth's going to beat Damian 9 times out of 10, right? But yeah, I don't know. Just with what's coming up, current situations, I just think they're trying to distract us from the fact that they are building towards Gunther and Priest. Seems to be what they've been doing for a while now, anyway. And yeah, I don't see them changing that. I'm going to go with Damian to win, and he's going to retain his title successfully.
Here's my one caveat for that prediction, because we rarely disagree, so we don't get the chance to do this often. I feel like the next event being SummerSlam, and I've made it clear I'm not the biggest Damian fan, but he's improved and and all that. But does Damian Priest versus Gunther really scream SummerSlam headline main event like Seth Rollins and Gunther would? That's my biggest reason for sticking with Seth.
I mean, the answer's no, straight up. It's not as big a match. I think Seth against Gunther is a lot bigger than Damian against Gunther. But I think with the whole Judgment Day story at the moment as well, sort of like adding on to my theory here, I think you don't really need this stipulation to have Damian Priest lead. I think they seem to be writing it in anyway. They seem to be having, like Finn starting to get really sort of like suspicious of Damian's mindset. You obviously got Liv doing the infiltration on her part, whether that's because of Rhea Ripley or not. I mean, we don't know just yet, but we assume it is. That seems to be how they're making it sound. I think there might be, alternative, interior motives there as well. I can see an implosion for the Judgment Day sort of like going into SummerSlam and then it all just going crazy. Damian loses the title. Finn Balor and JD McDonough, they're the tag team champs. I don't really think that really affects this too much. But Finn he's been on at Damian for a little while now. He seems to be very sort of suspicious of his actions recently. And the words that he's been saying as well, like Judgment Day, sorry about that. Judgment Day have ears, like they're listening, right? And that was mentioned on Raw. Balor clearly quite upset with it. He passed it off, like, we're brothers and whatever, like, I got your back. I don't know. I feel like they're putting it in just to like plant that going forward. They're going to keep building on top of it. Damian's going to say some other stuff at some point soon, and it's going to add up and up and up and up and up to the point where I think Finn eventually just says, like, you know what, this has got to stop. This is going to end. And I think it's going to just sort of like roll into SummerSlam. I think Gunther's just going to reap the rewards. That seems to be how it's going to work out for me. I don't know if maybe I'm missing something, but yeah, it seems to be that way for me anyway.
No, you made good points as well. So basically, instead of his words coming back to bite him for this match, you think the implosion will come closer to SummerSlam, probably costing him against what is already, what most would say a better opponent in Gunther. That makes perfect sense to me too.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could be that. It could be nothing like it, but it's just a theory I've got at the moment, right? So anyway, hey, that's the world title situation. How about we focus on the last match? So this is a 3 versus 3 tag team contest where you've got the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, Cody Rhodes. He'll be teaming with Randy Orton as well as Kevin Owens, and they'll be taking on the Bloodline. So that's Solo Sikoa, it could be Tama Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu. We don't know specifically who won't be in the match just yet. There's theories it won't be Jacob Fatu, but I mean, who really knows? Every graphic I've seen so far has Jacob on it, has all 4 men. So yeah, who really knows how it's going to go down in terms of who it's going to be? But either way, let's just put it as like a grand scheme of things for the time being. Let's not really focus on the actual members just yet. So the dynamic is Cody Rhodes the champion, right? Solo Sikoa, he seems to be the next challenger in line for Cody's title. I mean, Solo hasn't had an opportunity against Cody yet. So in order to really step that up, he has to win this match, right? If he loses, then the Bloodline take an L. I'm not sure that's something that they could really do with right now. Cody, Randy, and Kevin. I mean, you could just have like Kevin take the loss here, really, couldn't you? That wouldn't really be anything to sort of like worry about for him per se. But then it would sort of like set up a continued story here between Solo and Cody Rhodes, because that seems to be how they're doing it. They're really building up Solo with this new role with the Tribal Chief status, the head of the table, whatever we're calling him now. He's a head honcho of the Bloodline. So Jacob Fatu coming in hasn't really changed that. It's just sort of like added to the fire that Solo's got at the moment. And I think no matter what I think in my head, if Solo and the Bloodline lose this match, it doesn't do them any favors. It doesn't do Solo any favors. So having him come out at the end of Cody's match against AJ Styles at Clash of the Castle, and then obviously having a big brawl, yeah, that sets this match up nicely. But it's also got that individual element between Cody and Solo, and I feel like without having that matchup, it's not really worth the build so far. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bloodline taking the win on this one. don't think Cody will take the loss, but one of the other two will probably will probably be the ones that get pinned. So yeah. What about you though, Nick? In terms of the Bloodline here, and obviously how they've been built recently with the attack on Paul Heyman this past Friday, very brutal stuff. Do you see any way, shape, or form here that they take the loss and Solo still gets a title match? Is that something that could happen? Maybe I'm missing something out there. What do you think?
No, I think we're pretty much on the same page here. 100% chance that the Bloodline will win here. Maybe I shouldn't say 100%. 100% chance that Cody won't take the fall. Maybe. Although imagine, how much that would elevate, and specifically if it was Solo, if he were to get a pin in on Cody Rhodes, that would be great for him, his character, and overall the Bloodline. I think you'd be taking a couple of steps back if the Bloodline were to lose here, based on how heavily they've been involved with SmackDown over the last, I guess Bloodline, in terms of Bloodline forever, but in terms of this Bloodline, a couple months now, I think it would be a step in the wrong direction for sure. And unfortunately, yeah, Kevin probably taking the pin here. Always in the big spots, but always never seems to be able to prevail. But we also love him just as much. And yeah, I'm not really looking for, like, out of all the matches, this is probably the one I'm looking forward to the least. But yeah, I think the Bloodline have a lot to gain, and that the fact that if they beat, three of the best in WWE, I think that certainly helps elevate them. In terms of who will participate for the Bloodline, I'm not sure this is what you were referencing or not, but the Jacob, I've heard issues with possibly performing in other countries due to his history, criminal background, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure how true that is, but I could see that causing issues, being that I feel like more than half the PLEs this year have been international. So if that is true, or they need to fix that situation, I'm not sure. But yeah, I feel like the Bloodline is the obvious choice here, and that continuing to push them, I feel like they just kind of have to win here in their first big match, PLE match.
Alrighty, so on the same wavelength there as well. I think with the Jacob Flatley situation, the only thing I've got against, because I've also heard the same stuff. I've also heard about he's got issues with going into other countries or whatever. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. Who knows? But I don't know why he'd be on the graphics if there's no chance that he's going to be there. I feel like that's just a very strange decision, unless it is to throw us off, maybe just to get people talking. Who's going to participate for the Bloodline? If that's the case, he's doing a great job. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't really get why he'd be on there, but. Maybe just because they're a group, they're putting the whole lot on. I don't know, but either way, yeah, Kevin Owens, you feel for him. He's a great guy, but he's the main target here for a pinfall, which is a shame because I love the guy so much. Yeah, like you said, we all do love him, but yeah, Solo to continue his story after this in terms of fighting for that Universal Championship seems to be the most logical way forward. I'm glad you agree on that. So, hey, everybody, that is our Money in the Bank predictions video. All of the matches discussed there, who we think is going to win, a little bit of in-depth analysis and theories regarding our choices. If you guys agree, how about letting us know in the comments? Maybe you disagree. Maybe there's other stuff that you've heard that you maybe think could be the deciding factors for any of these matches. Let us know. If you like the video, then please hit a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out more content as well. There's also an NXT Heatwave video coming up as well sometime soon too. Not sure which that's going to correlate to this one. But hey, thank you very much for everybody tuning in. I appreciate all of you. And we'll be back again very, very soon. So anything you say, Nick, before we head off?
I guess one thing we didn't talk about was the possibility of a cash-in. Specifically, I felt like the women's match could go on later because there are no other chances for them to cash in. And historically, the women's match has been cashed in a lot on the same PLE. Whereas this one, we do have a heavyweight championship match. And so I felt like maybe the men would go on first. Do you think there's any chance at all to cash in? I think Drew did declare that he would win and cash in. on the same night, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Any chance we get a cash in, and if that's the order?
He did say that. He did say that, and it frightens the hell out of me. Honestly, I genuinely think there's a good chance that we could get Drew winning the matchup, cashing in against Damian or Seth, whoever it is, and then CM Punk or whatever, whatever way he has to interfere, costs him the title match, and that's the Money in the Bank briefcase gone straight away. I really don't want that to happen. I think that's such a shame, such a waste. I feel like they don't really need to do that. I get that they could. It would raise the intensity of the rivalry even further up, and fair play, it would. But I really hope not. But I mean, yeah, the women's side definitely no cash-ins. We know that. But the men's side is very possible. Very, very, very possible. I mean, also on the other hand, you could have maybe like the men's Money in the Bank ladder match start off. Chad Gable wins it, then cashes on Sami Zayn or Bron Breakker. Like that could also be an option. So, and then Chad gets us into the Untitled Championship. I don't know. Like it's just another thought out there for sure that maybe makes sense on the night. But I don't think Cody's susceptible to a cash in 10. That's for sure.
That's a good shout out. I didn't think about the Intercontinental. I always think of the big titles, but yeah, certainly that actually makes a lot of sense too, and I hadn't thought of that. Chad cashing in on Sami, that would be quite the story as well. I'm okay with the winning and cashing in on the same night. It certainly makes the PLE in itself a bigger picture. But I'd much rather them do that than pulling a Damian Priest and holding on to it for the entire year or close to. But yeah, it feels like a bit of a waste to have Drew win and cash in and get costed once again by CM Punk. I mean, how much wood can you throw on the fire? I mean, it seems like every time I feel like I've said this many times now on the channel alone. Every time we think that can't get any bigger, it does. But regardless, this is one of my favorite PLEs of the year, and I'm excited for it, and it should be a lot of fun.
I do always enjoy Money in the Bank, so it should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. And yeah, it's just I get worried about a failed cash in, especially if it's on the same night. Like a successful one, sure, it's a good moment, but a failed one on the same night is like, wow, they really didn't want that Money in the Bank contract anywhere near anything at this point, did they? But yeah, as this would make sense. Unfortunately, it would make a lot of sense. I just hope it doesn't happen. I'll keep my fingers crossed on that one. I just want Drew to do well, but CM Punk is clearly not going to allow it to happen at the moment. So fair enough. All right, guys. That is going to be the end of the video then. So thank you to everybody for tuning in. Once again, if you do like what we're putting out here, please hit a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. And let us know in the comments if you agree with anything that we have said so far, or if you even disagree as well. So thank you very much, everybody. This has been The Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.